Okay,
Here we go.
here we go. Welcome to vlog number 14. So, this vlog is about us leaving Davis Mountain State Park in Fort Davis, Texas. Leaving early in the morning.
Oh, dark early.
Real early before the sun came up. It was still dark. Got into Fort Davis, made a quick stop for a cinnamon roll off to the north. The cinnamon roll, how many cinnamon rolls were there in there? Were there like a lot? Were they supposed to be fresh or?
There were probably only 3 left, and I only got us 1 to split. We didn't really need more than 1.
I made a big deal of it. I like my own things, but come to find out, I was happy to share that cinnamon roll because it wasn't the greatest cinnamon roll in the world.
Yep.
So then we headed north out of Fort Davis, picked up different highways, saw some different things, went through a crossroad between 2 major highways. It was about 12, 15 miles long. Nice wildlife, caught some good photos of some birds and some hawks. Yvette seems to recollect a person that was weaving, and actually now that I think about it, I do remember that. I remember actually he was in Fort Davis. This guy, if I could,
outside of Fort Davis, we picked him up and followed him for a while all over the road.
Yeah, but when you were in getting your coffee roll, now that I remember it, I actually saw that car go through Fort Davis, and I think he pulled over and then started to drive again. But he was weaving all over the road. If I have that dash cam footage, I'll show it. We ended up passing him. Picked up 90 north, and Yvette at some point got to drive a little bit. We ended up taking, I believe it's, I don't remember the route, but it intersects and starts heading back west towards El Paso. And then it turns into 62, and then you get off on a side road. Oh, we went through a checkpoint. Remember the checkpoint we went through?
Near El Paso.
And that was probably the busiest checkpoint that we had been through. That was probably our 3rd one that we actually drove through, that we got stopped at. The other ones you kind of just passed the other way. And remember the guy so there was like 12 cars.
Right.
Dogs were out sniffing the cars.
We pulled somebody over. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, pulled somebody over, moved the X-ray truck up next to that car. In the meantime, we're going up, and I'm thinking, there's just no way he's going to let us through. I mean, we got this trailer and this truck, and who knows what we could be carrying. But we get up there, and he had a big smile on his face, and he goes, "Oh, what do we got here?"
He thought it was cool.
He thought it was pretty cool, said a couple of nice things, told us safe travels, have a nice day, and waved us on. And I have to say, that was like the third guy that we had talked to, at, like I said, checkpoints. And they always seem to be very courteous, very nice, no big deal. I guess if you don't give them a hassle, they won't hassle you.
You're not full of hot in the back. You're okay.
It didn't smell like weed. Off to, I believe it was 62. From there it turns into 62. We take a right onto the access road to Hueco Tanks State Park. Now you had made a reservation for
2 nights.
2 nights stay.
Yes, they were very busy this particular weekend doing something called
the Rock Rodeo.
Right, where they have lots of people come in and scale the rocks, all that. So we only ended up getting 2 nights, which was supposed to be Sunday, Monday
night. And then we thought, if we could extend after that, we would. If not, then
depending on how we liked the park.
But this particular park had some stipulations that we weren't used to in the 7 or 8 other parks that we had been through in Texas. One of which was, when you get there, you have to get there early enough. In other words, you can't get there after park hours. You have to get there early enough, i.e. before 4 o'clock, because you have to watch a mandatory 20-minute video before you can proceed into the park after you get your permit. So you go up to the gate, you get your permit, then you move to the next building, the interpretive center, then they herd you in, watch a 20-minute video, and then you're free to go. So that was one thing.
Yep.
The second thing was that the park was broken up into 2 kinds of trails. a set of trails. I'm going to say there was 4 or 5 trails that were called self-guided trails.
But you had to have a permit to be on them. You were not allowed to go hiking
Right.
on any of these trails without a permit.
And that permit wasn't the permit you got to stay overnight in the park. That was a separate permit, right? Like if you paid for the day, what was it to stay in the park? $10, $12?
It was $10. I think no, it was $12 because we didn't have any hookups.
Okay, so it was $12 per day. But then, because they don't allow more than 70 people on the trail per day on the self-guided trails,
Right.
you had to go to the office and buy a special permit every day for the trail on top of the $12.
Right.
So we get there on Sunday, we have to, what was it, $2 per person or something? $4 per person?
I don't know that we even got charged for it.
We might not have gotten charged
I
for
think it
it,
was
but
part of
the pass, maybe.
I think coming in
right.
because
So,
I didn't pay anything extra, but we did have to do
but
the
you,
video.
but you do have to see but you do have to get a permit that's a little card and some other paperwork, but you get a little card, it looks like a business card, that says that you're allowed on the trails for that day.
And only that day.
And only that day. So if we decided to stay Monday and do some more hiking on the trails, you have to go back to the visitor center and get another card.
Right.
Now I looked up on the website and they say that you can reserve those days up to 90 days in advance. So that you don't, if you get there on Saturday and then all of a sudden Sunday you don't get to the headquarters on time and 70 other people have filed through, you don't miss your slot. So, but whatever. Okay, the other kind of trail was the guided trail, and you were not allowed on these trails because of the sensitivity of the archaeology stuff there. You were not allowed on this trail without a guide, and that guide only took tours by arrangement from either Wednesday or Thursday to Sunday. So it was
Right.
Sunday when we got there, and I think I can say that we're not big on group guided tours.
We'd rather go hiking on our own.
on our own. So, okay, so remember that. So now we got 3 things going on basically. You got the rock rodeo that has all of these kids. They're kids to us, and maybe they're probably 20 to 30 years of age. I don't know what the age group is, but there's a lot of them there. And they're climbing the rocks and stuff like that, which is a little ironic if this place is so archaeologically sensitive. Then you have the trails we can go on with a card, and the trails we can't go on because it needs a guide. We get there Sunday, we do the video, we go to the camp spot. As usual, we decide, maybe let's go for a walk. Well, there was a trail right near our camp spot, like literally off the right fender. You could see this beautiful trail just heading right around in the mountain in the desert. So Yvette goes down there and she comes back and she says, yeah, that's one of the restricted trails. We can't go on it. So we're this close to it.
Can't go on it.
Can't go on it. And then the camp host, who's about 3 spots down from us. Now camp hosts have got people that volunteer their services and volunteering at the parks. He comes over and he says, hey, I saw you looking at the trail, just wanted a friendly reminder.
Not allowed to go hiking on it, but if you want to go on a hike, we're doing a hike today,
A guided
hike today at 2 o'clock, so you guys can join up then if you want.
Yep.
But I think at that point we opted, you know what, let's just go hike on our own. Let's go on the trails that we can go on.
Yep. And the other thing to that was, though I'm telling you this now, that the guided tours were Wednesday or Thursday to Sunday, at that particular time, at least for me, I was like, well, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow being Monday, come to find out when I went to the visitor center the next day, or that day, I went to the visitor center. You can't do it on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. It's got to be Thursday to Sunday. So we missed out on our chance. I'm not going to say we missed out, but
Well, I don't think we really want to.
we didn't really want to do it anyway. But if we wanted to, that would have been our last opportunity. So then we go on the trails.
And
They sell,
we hiked all the trails that we could hike probably within 2 hours.
within 2 hours, all the self-guided trails.
2.5 hours. We hiked them all. We did see a cool place that had waterfall and water there, which I think we took some pictures of. But it was just the point that we hiked everything that was possible to hike
Yeah.
in 2.5 hours.
Right.
So.
And I think sometimes the first day we get to a park, I'm not always good about taking pictures. I mean, if you get dash cam footage going into the park, I don't usually touch the camera until the second day. So the first day that we're there, John has his iPhone, feels it in his back pocket, and finally, I think I only got like 3 or 4 pictures. So if you got some, that would be great, and I'll be putting them in here. But other than that, if you see some photos in there, they may be Google photos, because we didn't take a lot.
Well, I did take the video coming in of the rocks.
That's true.
They did have really cool looking
Yeah.
rocks. I mean,
Yes.
nothing that we'd really seen since then.
Right. But here's the thing. So we go for the walk. We come back to the truck. It's getting close to dinner time. You kind of fiddle around with the truck because it was really hard to level.
Yeah,
Because the parking spot was like this. So we sort of decide, my wife makes me a cocktail, and we go out and we start making dinner. I remember it well. It was like rice and shrimp.
Yep.
And on this trail coming down that we weren't supposed to walk on without a guide, late in the afternoon, here comes 3 or 4 people with these pads on their back from the rock rodeo. And then 3 or 4 turned into 5 or 6 and 8 or 10 and 10 or 12 and 15 and 18.
But they all set up camp right at the end of the trail, right in front of our vehicle.
Right, they drop all their equipment, like this is where they're going to get picked up at the end of the day. So, and they're talking loud, and somebody's smoking a cigarette and this and that. And it ended up being just like, really out of all the spots,
an hour and a half of dealing with a crowd in front of you.
Basically, right. So
we weren't really into seeing.
And at the end of a long day, when you're driving and you're doing some hiking and you want to relax, and and your whole idea is solitude, quiet, private, etc. These guys are all parking their butts in front of the truck, and it wasn't until just before dark that the last of the equipment got trucked out.
Right.
So.
Because it was probably like 3 or 4 trips for the van to pick them all up.
Yep.
So yeah, that was annoying.
So, and the other thing I guess that bothered me is here was the park host. He comes over because he sees us literally take 2 steps on this trail, and he comes over and he says, that trail's off limit. And then 30 of these rock rodeo dudes come walking down the same trail.
Like no big deal.
Like no big deal. And one of the things I forgot to say was that one of the self-guided trails that we went on, they were okay, we're going in this canyon, and one of these bush monkeys, these rock climbing guys, he's going rogue into a part of the park we know he's not supposed to be in. And he's like trying to hide from us in this cave, thinking we don't hear or see him. And I'm like, I can see the guy. It's like, what do you think
Not
I am?
A great experience for a park.
No. So, I don't know. I think part of the problem was we were there during this rock rodeo thing, and the park staff was a little overwhelmed by it.
Very overwhelmed, it seemed.
But I'm confused at, there's a contradiction here of this being a very sensitive state park, and yet you have a rock rodeo competition in it where these guys are climbing all over the rocks and clearly not being supervised. I mean, they were like,
so it's just kind of, conflict.
Yep, so.
Which I don't quite understand.
And I don't know if it was the last day of it or for whatever,
but I think it doesn't matter. I mean, they still allow people to, I think, do this there.
Yep.
So I don't quite get it.
So I don't know if it was that night or the next morning. I think it was that night. We just decided, you know,
we're gonna bail. We're not
gonna
gonna
bail
stay
the
the
next
next
day.
day.
and we picked out another place to go to. So then we're going to wrap this up for vlog number 14 at Hueco Tanks and say we left the next day heading up towards Alamogordo, New Mexico. So Hueco Tanks was our last Texas State Park. Not a great way to finish off the Texas State Park experience, but we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm sure we'll be back.
No, but for that one, thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs down on that one. That experience anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so until next time, we'll see you soon, and don't forget to tune in for vlog number 15 at Alamogordo at Oliver Lee State Park in New Mexico. Take care now.